In this video, we're going to deploy a Tanzu Kubernetes Cluster, also known as a TKC, into our vSphere dev namespace. We will do so by logging into our supervisor control plane address. Using the kubectl vSphere plugin, we will log into our supervisor control plane address using the -- server parameter and then the username, which in this case is cloudadmin@vmc.local. Once logged in, we are now going to switch the Kubernetes context into our vSphere dev namespace. Next, we use the kubectl get tkr our Tanzu Kubernetes releases command to show the available Kubernetes versions that's available for us to provision. In this example, we can see that we have 3 versions that are supported: 1.20.2, 1.20.7, and 1.21.2. Before we can provision our TKC, we must first create a YAML manifest that describes our desired configuration. Here it can include the name of the TKC, the vSphere namespace to deploy the cluster to, the version of Kubernetes, and then the topology configuration, which controls the values for our control plane and worker nodes. This includes the t-shirt sizes, the number of nodes, and also the VM storage policy to associate this TKC to. To create our TKC, we go ahead and specify our kubeapply command and providing our YAML manifest. Here we can see the TKC has been created. To view the progress of our TKC, we can go ahead and do a kubectl get TKC, and we can see the current status and whether or not the cluster is currently ready. If we now switch to our vSphere UI to see what's happening from an infrastructure point of view, we can see the TKC request has been received by our supervisor cluster, and it is now retrieving the desired Kubernetes cluster from the OVAs from our vSphere content library. It is now cloning the individual VMs to construct the desired Kubernetes cluster, which is going to be 3 control plane VMs and 3 worker nodes. This can take a few minutes depending on the size of your Kubernetes cluster and also the desired configuration that you have specified. Let's now switch back to the console. If we run a kubectl get TKC, we can see that our Kubernetes cluster is now fully realized with 3 control plane nodes and 3 worker nodes, and the status is now ready. To start using this Kubernetes cluster, we need to log into the TKC. We go ahead and use our kubectl -vsphere command, but now we pass in 2 additional parameters, which is the Tanzu Kubernetes cluster name, which in this case is William-TKC01, and also the Tanzu Kubernetes cluster namespace, which is dev. Once logged in, again, we're going to now switch the Kubernetes context to go into our Tanzu Kubernetes cluster. Using kubectl get nodes, we can confirm we are now switching to the context of our TKC, and as we can see, there are 3 control plane VMs and 3 worker nodes. At this point, we are now ready to start deploying an application.